Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Haru Nefer, Namaste. This is Kasankma Keparu with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about how your history can change with one thought. But before I do that, hit the like button on this video, subscribe to my channel if this is your first time watching, and share it with friends and family so we can get this revolution started. So I want to talk a little bit about how your history actually changes and you don't even realize it. Several years ago, I had a discussion with Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar, and we talked about an interesting topic that I brought up about how history, our memory of history, is open to change. And we got into this really deep discussion, and years after, the years following, individuals came up to me, told me how that was one of the best discussions they have seen with Bashar. Now, I've just recently seen some of his newer videos, and he's talking more in depth on that subject. So I'm wondering, did I inspire him to get into that subject matter? But anyway, let me talk about this with you and how this applies to your life and how it can actually help you. Now, excuse me because I am a little dizzy, and yesterday I was sick. I was in bed, and I'm actually doing this broadcast from my hotel room. I drank some powerful Chinese ginseng juice, and I think it was just too much for me because immediately I got dizzy and had this massive headache, a migraine headache, and had to just lay down the whole entire day. So what we perceive to be our history may not actually be the real history that we have always thought we've had. Let me explain. I've talked a lot before about how the now moment is the only thing that exists. There is no past and there's no future. There's only a series or infinite number of now moments that you are shifting through, which we can say is transurfing, or you're shifting through these parallel universes or these parallel now moments, whatever you want to call it. And you are experiencing many, many different now moments. And because you're shifting so quickly, every microsecond, it creates the idea of movement. So, but now let's think about this. The future doesn't really exist. What is there is infinite possibility. So the minute you have a thought and it becomes your dominant thought, you then shift to that now moment, which you perceive to be the future. So the future is open. It can be what you want, given that the only prerequisite is that you carry with you the emotional resonance of that future that you want to obtain. So if I'm looking at to be wealthy in the future, I have to embody the emotion and feeling of what it's like to be a wealthy individual. To have that manifest, really meaning it will change my vibration so that I shift to that parallel world or parallel now moment, which I perceive incorrectly to be the future, to be able to interact with the money that is mine, or be in that universe or world where I am wealthy. Okay. Now, on that same note, because I had to start by explaining how that future works. In the past, when you think about the past, what you are perceiving is not the past, but just another now moment, okay? Now, if you are perceiving a past that you have had, say you were raised, with your mother, your father, or you're raised as a single parent, or or raised in an orphanage, I'm just going through hypotheticals, right? Your memory of that changes depending upon your belief system. You see, as though in the same way, there are infinite number of future possibilities, there are an infinite number of past possibilities. So let's say, for example, if I was abused as a child, and that abuse is trauma, and I keep thinking about it, and I react in the now moment. What I'm doing is accessing that alternate now moment and calling it a past. Well, in my past, I was beaten by my father. He was an alcoholic, so on and so forth. But if your idea of the past that you wish to change is that of a loving household where you were nurtured and supported in every way, shape, or form, and you outrightly say, I do not acknowledge that alternate past where I was abused. If the past where you were nurtured and supported becomes the dominant emotional feeling that you exhibit now, your history suddenly changes and you will no longer remember the past where you were abused and traumatized. That's how it works. You will no longer remember that. Now, I want to go back to you for you guys to find the video where I was discussing this with Bashar, because I went into detail, but I think they took the video down. But now, let's take this a step further. Collectively, as a species, as a race, we have a collective memory of a past. For example, African Americans may have a collective memory of slavery. Jews may have a collective memory of the Holocaust, but it's only one memory, or they're accessing one memory of an infinite number of possibilities that could happen. If they collectively, as a group, which is called the MCA, the Mass Collective Agreement, if they choose to discount that and reject it, they can access an alternative history. Okay? And Bashar told us that we only now accepted recently the history that JFK was assassinated. That I think he said up to maybe 4 or 5 years ago, JFK was still alive, but we then changed the history as a collective to one where we came to a collective agreement that he was assassinated. Okay? So anyway, going back to what I was saying about slavery, the Holocaust. Now, if we collectively decide that we reject that history of slavery, and it is still there, understand this very clearly, then it serves us for some reason in this collective destiny that we're going through. There's a collective destiny, yes. There's a destiny of a planet, destiny of a nation, there's a destiny of the individual. This is why when you come to the great oracle of Tahuti, one of the first readings you should ever do is, what is your destiny? Why were you reincarnated here? Others in the occult arena call it a pre-life agreement or a soul contract. Whatever term you want to use, it all is the same. Now, what you're perceiving as history, World War I, World War II, is merely a collective agreement to access a now moment that we all agree to experience. But it has been changing. Evidence of this is the Mandela effect. Many people remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison and not becoming president of South Africa. I remember him dying in prison. So we have split off into two different factions. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a different history, and some people can perceive that they're that sensitive. You ever heard in Star Wars, you're force sensitive? So what I'm telling you that, my beloved, is that the history that you think you have is not only subject to change, but it may not be really the history that you had or you thought you had 5 years ago. 5 years ago, you had a different history. It is subject to change depending on your dominant belief system, your dominant emotion. So and this is what's so beautiful about it, because right now, in this now moment, if I decide to embody a certain emotion and hold on to it for dear life, it changes my past, because I have to access a different past. Because I gave individuals this example, and it's a very tricky example of how when you drink orange juice, you're drinking the orange juice, right? What comes first? The idea that you're thirsty and you go to the kitchen and you pour a glass of orange juice and then you're drinking it? No, because that's linear space-time thinking, left brain thinking. That's not how it works. How it works first is a now moment, which is you are drinking the orange juice. Then comes the history or the memory of you going into the kitchen and pouring the orange juice. So first, you drink the orange juice, and then comes the memory that it kind of like builds upon each other. One necessitates the other. The now moment is the one that controls so-called past and future. Depending upon what you do in this now moment will determine your history, and it will determine your future. And what is your future and your history? infinite number of possibilities depending upon this now moment. Because you have the choice to access all of this as God man, God woman, but you don't know it. So what happens? The ruling elite, the oligarchy, feeds you subliminal messages, mind control, to get you to subscribe to a certain history, to get you to subscribe to a certain future. And when you succumb to the subliminal suggestions, what happens? You become controlled and dominated, and you don't fall into the realization of your true self as powerful God man, God woman. So, my beloved, that is it. You have any questions, please feel free to put them in the description box. And if you're inclined to make a donation through PayPal, the link is in the description box, or become a Patreon supporter. You can do so for as little as $1 or $5 a month, and you get special videos. And we have some ebooks that you can download. We have the Osiris Report, and those are free. The link, again, is in the description box. So until my next video, this is Kasank Ma Keperu, son of Ma'at and Tudi, and Amen Ra.